It is measured by obedience when no one is watching. Some people wake up early and complain. Some wake up late and regret. But strong Muslims wake up with purpose. And weak ones, sadly, choose sleep over responsibility. This is not an insult. This is a reminder. Allah gave you the morning as a test, and many fail it before the day even begins. My brothers and sisters, every single morning you wake up is not ordinary. It is not routine. It is not guaranteed. It is an amana from Allah. You did not bring yourself back from sleep. You did not control your heartbeat through the night. You did not protect yourself while you were unconscious. Allah did. And when He allowed your soul to return to your body, that was not random. That was permission. Think about that for a moment. Sleep is the closest thing to death that we experience every day. Your awareness leaves you, your control disappears, and if Allah willed, your soul would not return. Yet most of us wake up as if this is normal, as if it is owed to us. How many people slept last night with plans for today that will never happen? How many alarms rang beside lifeless bodies? How many homes woke up in shock because someone did not open their eyes? Beds became graves before Fajr. When you open your eyes in the morning, that is not because you are strong. It is because Allah is merciful. It is because He gave you another chance, another opportunity to correct something, another opportunity to turn back, another opportunity to do better than yesterday. But now comes the uncomfortable part. Look at how we treat this mercy. The first moments of the day are the purest moments. The heart is softer, the world is quieter, the soul is closer to its Creator. Yet what do? We delay prayer as if Allah will wait on our schedule. We rush remembrance as if it is a burden instead of a privilege. We reach for our phones before we reach for gratitude. We scroll through messages before we reflect on the fact that we are alive. We are quick to ask, what did I miss? But rarely ask, why am I still here? The morning exposes priorities very clearly. It shows what matters to us before excuses arrive, before people distract us, before the noise of life takes over. If Allah gives you life for another day, and the first thing you do is ignore Him, pause and ask yourself honestly, what does that say about your priorities? This is not about perfection, this is about awareness. Some people say, my heart is clean, but a clean heart responds to the one who gave it life. Some say, Allah knows my intentions. Yes, Allah knows intentions, but He also sees actions. And the first action of the day often sets the tone for everything that follows. When you wake up and immediately delay Allah, you are training your soul to believe that He comes second. When you consistently put Him first, even when tired, even when sleepy, even when it is difficult, you are building a relationship based on obedience, not convenience. Strong Muslims understand something very important. The morning does not belong to them. It belongs to Allah. Their energy belongs to Allah. Their time belongs to Allah. Their breath belongs to Allah. Weakness does not begin with major sins. It begins with small neglect, with treating blessings lightly, with assuming tomorrow will come without question. Ask yourself this, if Allah trusted you with another morning, what are you doing with that trust? Imagine someone gives you something precious and valuable. You would protect it, you would treat it with care, you would not waste it. Yet Allah gives us life again and again, and we treat it as something cheap. The morning is not just the start of the day. It is the first test. It asks a simple question. Who comes first? Is it your comfort? Is it your sleep? Is it your phone? Or is it Allah? Strong Muslims do not win every battle, but they are conscious of the war. They know that the day begins with accountability. They do not wake up entitled, they wake up humbled. They understand that every sunrise is a silent message from Allah. You are still needed, but you are also still being tested. And once you understand that the morning is a trust, your behavior begins to change. You stop wasting it. You stop complaining about it. You stop treating it casually. You begin to see it as an opportunity rather than an inconvenience. Because one day there will be a morning that does not come. And when that happens, no amount of regret will bring it back. The strong believer lives with that awareness. The weak believer lives as if mornings are endless. The difference is not strength of body. It is strength of understanding. And that understanding begins the moment your eyes open. My brothers and sisters, let us be honest with ourselves. Strength in Islam does not begin when life becomes easy, it begins when obedience is difficult. And there is no prayer that exposes this truth more clearly than Fajr. Fajr is not just another salah, it is a divider. It separates sincerity from habit. It separates discipline from excuses. It separates those who submit to Allah from those who negotiate with Him. You see, every other prayer fits into your day. Fajr does not. Fajr demands that you shape your day around Allah, and that is why it is heavy. Allah Himself tells us that the prayer is difficult except for those who are humble. If Fajr feels heavy, it is not because Allah is harsh, it is because the nafs is strong. Many people say, I believe. But belief is not tested when you are comfortable. Belief is tested when your bed is warm, your body is tired, and sleep feels more attractive than obedience. That moment right there is where strength is built. No strong Muslim abandons Fajr knowingly. This is not a judgment, it is a reality. Because Fajr is not about time, it is about priority. It asks a simple question. Who do you listen to first, your nafs or your Lord? Some people try to compensate. They say, I pray later, or I make it up, or Allah is forgiving. Yes, Allah is forgiving, but He is also just. And forgiveness is not a license to neglect what He made obligatory. Fajr was not placed at dawn by accident. It was placed there because Allah knows human nature. He knows that if you can control yourself at the hardest moment, everything after becomes easier. When you respond to Fajr, you are training your soul to obey without argument. You are teaching your heart that Allah comes before comfort. You are weakening the ego that always wants ease. But when you repeatedly miss Fajr, something dangerous happens quietly. Your conscience becomes softer, your excuses become louder, your standards drop. At first you feel guilt, then you feel inconvenience, then you feel nothing. That is not strength. That is spiritual erosion. Strong Muslims understand that foundations matter. You cannot build a solid house on weak ground. You cannot build a strong Iman on neglected obligations. Voluntary acts are beautiful, but they do not replace what Allah made mandatory. Think about it carefully. How can a person claim strength in faith while consistently abandoning the very prayer Allah highlighted? The Prophet ﷺ described Fajr and Isha as the heaviest prayers on the hypocrites. That statement alone should shake us. This does not mean that missing Fajr once makes you a hypocrite. No, Islam is not cruel. But consistently taking Fajr lightly is not a small issue. It is a warning sign. Fajr shapes your inner strength in ways you do not see immediately. When you wake up for Fajr, your day carries a different weight. Your decisions are calmer. Your patience increases. Your sense of accountability stays alive. Why? Because you started the day with submission. But when Fajr is missed, the day often begins rushed, distracted, and spiritually empty. You may still function, but something is missing. And over time, that emptiness spreads. People often ask, why do I feel weak? Why do I feel disconnected? Why does my Iman rise and fall so quickly? And the answer is sometimes very simple. The foundation is cracked. Strength is built on consistency, not emotion. And Fajr is the most consistent test Allah gives every believer every single day. No one sees you at Fajr, no applause, no recognition, no validation. That is why it is sincere. That is why it builds real strength. If you can answer Allah's call when no one else is watching, you develop an inner firmness that carries you through temptation, hardship, and pressure. Strong Muslims do not rely on motivation. Motivation fades. They rely on structure. They build their lives around obedience, not around feelings. And Fajr is the structure that holds everything else together. This is why Shaitan fights it so hard. He does not care if you pray later with distraction. He cares that you miss the one prayer that teaches discipline. If he can make you delay Fajr, he knows the rest of the day will be easier to corrupt. Strength does not come from loud declarations of faith. It comes from quiet obedience in the early hours. And that is why strong Muslims protect Fajr. They may struggle, they may fall short sometimes, but they never treat it lightly. They never make peace with neglect, because they know that once the foundation is weak, everything built on it is at risk. Fajr is not optional for the strong believer. It is essential. It is where strength begins. My brothers and sisters, many people spend their lives searching for strength, focus and stability, yet they ignore the one part of the day that shapes all three. They look for change in books, in speakers, in motivation, but they overlook the quiet hours before sunrise where real discipline is formed. Islam does not teach us to wait for the day to control us. It teaches us to begin the day with control. The morning is not just the start of activity, it is the start of direction. When you wake up without intention, the day takes over you. When you wake up with discipline, you take over the day. This is why the early hours are so powerful. They are calm, undisturbed and honest. There are no excuses yet, no pressures yet, no people demanding your attention. What you choose to do in those moments comes purely from your priorities. Discipline before sunrise is not about how productive you feel. It is about training the soul to respond, not to delay. Every time you wake up and act despite tiredness, you weaken the habit of procrastination. You teach your nafs that it does not command you, you command it. This is not just spiritual growth, this is character building. Many people say, I will start my day properly after I wake up fully. But discipline does not wait for comfort. Discipline is built precisely when comfort is absent. The believer who rises early, prays, remembers Allah and prepares calmly has already won the hardest battle of the day. Everything that follows becomes easier because the foundation is already set. When discipline is missing in the morning, the rest of the day becomes reactive. You rush through tasks, you lose patience quickly, you make emotional decisions, you feel behind before the day even begins. This is not because life is hard, it is because the day started without control. The morning sets the tone, and the tone determines behavior. Strong Muslims do not wait to feel ready. They act because it is right. They understand that discipline is not about intensity, but consistency. A small, steady act done every morning builds more strength than occasional bursts of effort. This is why the Prophet ﷺ valued consistency, even if it was little. The early hours train consistency better than any other time of the day. Discipline before sunrise also teaches humility. When you wake up early, you realize how small you are and how dependent you are on Allah. The world is quiet. There is no crowd. There is no performance. It is just you and your responsibility. That humility grounds the heart and removes arrogance. It reminds you that success is not self-made, it is Allah given. People often underestimate how much the morning affects their mental state. A disciplined morning creates clarity. You think better, you respond better, you are less impulsive. This is not coincidence. It is the result of beginning the day with structure instead of chaos. Islam encourages this structure because it protects the believer from being dragged by emotions and circumstances. When you consistently discipline yourself before sunrise, something powerful happens over time. Your confidence increases not because people praise you, but because you trust yourself. You know that when things are difficult, you can still act correctly. That confidence spills into every area of life. Work improves, relationships improve, decision-making improves. All because the day began with discipline. The opposite is also true. When mornings are careless, the soul becomes weaker. Small delays become habits. Habits become character. And character shapes destiny. This is why discipline is not a small matter. It is not about waking up early for productivity alone. It is about who you are becoming. Strong Muslims understand that Allah did not give them mornings by accident. He gave them mornings to train their souls. Every sunrise is an opportunity to choose discipline over desire. And every time you choose discipline, you are shaping not just your day, but your life. Discipline before sunrise is not glamorous, it is quiet, it is unseen, but it is powerful. And those who commit to it discover something important. The day no longer controls them. They control the day with the help of Allah. My brothers and sisters, many people today are exhausted, not because they lack time, but because they lack barakah. They move from one task to another, their days are full, yet their hearts feel empty and their efforts feel heavy. They say there is never enough time, but the real issue is not time itself. It is how that time is blessed. Barakah is something many speak about, but few truly understand. It is not about having more hours in the day. Everyone has the same 24 hours. Barakah is when Allah places goodness, ease and increase into what you already have. A small amount becomes enough. A short time becomes productive. A simple effort brings lasting results. And one of the greatest places where Allah places barakah is in the early hours of the morning. The Prophet ﷺ taught us this clearly. The early morning was not just a time to wake up, it was a time of blessing. Yet look at how we treat it today. We sleep through it, rush past it, or waste it, and then we complain that our days feel heavy and unproductive. We want the results of barakah without respecting the source of barakah. Strong Muslims understand that the morning is not just a start, it is a gift. When the day begins early, the mind is clearer, the heart is calmer, and distractions are fewer. The soul is more receptive, and intentions are purer. This is why those early hours carry a different weight. They are protected from the noise of the world. When a believer begins the day early with remembrance and order, Allah places ease in what follows. Tasks that should take long become shorter. Problems that feel overwhelming become manageable. This does not mean life becomes perfect, but it becomes balanced. There is a difference. Many people chase productivity techniques, schedules and strategies, yet they ignore the spiritual law of barakah. Without Allah's blessing, even the best systems feel exhausting. With barakah, even simple routines feel light. The early hours also protect a person from waste. When you wake up late, the day already feels rushed. You skip important things, you delay responsibilities, and you constantly feel behind. This creates stress, and stress drains energy. But when you rise early, the day opens slowly. You move with intention instead of panic. That calm itself is a form of barakah. Strong Muslims do not ask only for success. They ask for blessed success. They know that success without barakah leads to burnout, arrogance and dissatisfaction. Barakah brings contentment. It allows a person to achieve while remaining grounded and grateful. Another powerful aspect of the early hours is that they shape focus. When you give Allah the first portion of your time, He puts focus into the rest. When you rush past Him, the day becomes scattered. You may stay busy, but your efforts feel fragmented and draining. Barakah is also connected to obedience. When a believer honors the morning, honors prayer, honors remembrance, Allah honors their time. This is not a transaction, it is a reality of faith. You cannot expect blessing while consistently neglecting the very moments Allah highlighted. Many people think barakah will come later in life when things slow down. But barakah comes when you align your life with what Allah loves. And the morning is one of those moments Allah loves. Strong Muslims guard the early hours because they know once the world wakes up, demands increase and distractions multiply. But when they anchor the day early, everything else falls into place more easily. Barakah does not shout, it works quietly. You notice it at the end of the day when, despite challenges, things worked out. When you look back and realize you handled more than you thought you could. That is not luck, that is blessing. And that blessing often begins before sunrise. Those who respect the early hours may not always realize it immediately, but over time they see the difference. Their days feel fuller yet lighter. Their efforts feel meaningful. Their hearts feel more settled. This is why strong Muslims do not treat the morning casually. They understand that within those early hours lies a gift many people sleep through, and they choose to receive it. My brothers and sisters, many people think weakness begins when someone commits a major sin. That is not where it usually starts. Weakness often begins much earlier, much quieter, and much more subtly. It begins when a person starts negotiating obedience with Allah. Negotiation sounds harmless at first. It sounds reasonable. It sounds logical. A person says just 5 more minutes. They say, I'll pray after I wake up properly. They say, Allah understands my situation. And yes, Allah understands. But the danger is not in Allah's understanding. The danger is in what this habit does to the heart. Obedience in Islam was never meant to be negotiated. It was meant to be responded to. When Allah calls, the believer answers. When the believer delays consistently, something inside begins to shift. the soul slowly learns that obedience is flexible, optional, adjustable according to comfort. That is where weakness enters. Shaitan is very intelligent. He does not usually begin by telling you to abandon prayer completely. He begins by encouraging delay. He whispers that there is time. He whispers that you are tired. He whispers that one day will not matter. And once that door is opened, it becomes easier for him to push further. At first, the delay creates guilt. Then the guilt becomes lighter. Then the heart becomes numb. This is not because the person is evil. It is because repeated negotiation trains the soul to resist accountability. The heart becomes accustomed to ignoring its own alarms. Strong Muslims understand that obedience loses its power when it becomes conditional. When you say, I will obey if I feel like it, you are allowing emotions to rule faith. Emotions are unstable. They change with mood, energy, and circumstances. Faith requires firmness, not fluctuation. Negotiating obedience also